Welcome to Westchester County Roundup. I'm Bob Johnson. Today on the show we have a special guest. It's Carole Alexis. She's the director of Ballet des Amériques, and she's here with us in the studio to talk about the school, the conservatory, and her nonprofit professional company. And I had the great privilege of seeing the show the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and incredible. I was quite moved by the show. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. And so tell us a little bit about how the school found its way to Portchester. And you opened up 6 years ago, 2011?
We opened in 2011, July of 2011. For many years I have worked along that line. And it was time to open my own conservatory. I already had a company, but with a different name and different formation at the time. And it was time to pass on the knowledge in the way that I wanted to, and to open, therefore, a conservatory.
So your company was originally in Connecticut, right?
No, I was associate director of another company there, but I was in Manhattan, and I had a company called the Ballet du Cathédrale Royale, even more difficult to pronounce. And I, have done, because it was more of a performing art, music, dance, live music groups. But when we decided to open the conservatory, I had to reconcentrate on doing that, because you have to, especially it's a curriculum-based program, and you have to put a lot of time and thought to that, and really focus on developing the program to make sure that your first generation of students are, opening the tone to the coming students. So
there's two things going on at the school. It's a conservatory, and it's also a professional company, and you have a show coming up in June, on June 11th, at the Tarrytown Music Hall. Tell us a little bit about the show and what we could expect.
So we have a professional company of young adults from the age. We have a trainee which was trained in Ballet des Amériques for 7 years. She's now, professional level. So she's our first generation of trainee into the company. But the company is run from dancers that are now 22 to 30, so professional dancers. About 10 dancers. We have a dancer that we sponsor and brought to the United States of America, and he's Bolivian, so we're very proud of that. He's our Peter, for Peter and the Wolf, that coming in June 11. So the professional company became residents of the musical hall, the Tarrytown Music Hall, last October, after a first performance and co-production with them. We are very happy to be residents in that beautiful old theater of Westchester. And we became officially the Westchester Premier Dance Company. So very happy about that too.
And you're doing Peter and the Wolf. It's a matinee show at 2 o'clock. You're doing Peter and the Wolf, and you're doing some other pieces,
yes.
Other programs?
We will present the Boléro on the music of Maurice Ravel, and also another choreography called Lanty Soup, which takes influence from different continents, but particularly African continents. And it's contemporary, classic. The choreography in our contemporary works, such as the Boléro, it's always mix and fusions. But not fusion, because fusions say that you take it separate and put it together. It's pretty much because of my background. It's already that osmosis of things, and so the choreography reflect that.
And you do classic, of course, the classic ballet, and as you said, you mix it up with some modern, and you throw other cultural influences into the dance program. So your background as a dancer informed you for your creative efforts here.
Yes, as a dancer, but my background, I started young. My first performing arts center was in Martinique, and it was created by the famous, fantastic, wonderful poet Aimé Césaire. So the concept already of that performing arts center is that there was no separation between the different art, poetry, dance, music, theater. So when you're a child and you're influenced by this idea that art is art with a capital A, and they could cross, and so therefore a dancer take inspiration from an actor or director of theater, or from a musician or composer, or there was people doing artifact, pottery. It was an amazing place where there was so much possibility of a different form of art. But and also Martinique itself. My mother's from France, my father's from Martinique, and Martinique itself is already, because of its history, a place of multiculturalism. Not a try to be, but it is by definition. It's every person there. It's already multicultural. It has its influence, of course, in Africa, in Europe, in India, in China. It's
French.
It's French. It's French. It's Dutch, but it's French. But yet it's in the America because it's in the Caribbean.
Right.
So it's by definition, by quintessence, a multicultural culture. So my influence is just what I am, what I was born from, and where I grew up with and where. So therefore, it's my influence, or not that I take and peak, is because I grew up around and in a place where you have all those influences. So I'm naturally also attracted by all those different cultures, separated and back together. I constantly like this. You could call it a dance. This dance between the culture, this dialogue between the culture, because I'm come from a place where it's already like that.
And it's interesting that you mentioned this crossroads of art with a capital A, and that actors and performing artists, like poets. Stanislavski, his a great acting teacher, Russian acting teacher, actually the thing that he directed first was opera. So he had that sensibility, that
yes, I think
cross linking.
And right now with all the questions of the world, or even question of what's going on with the world, I think more than ever, as an artist personally, and I think other artists that I know are into, we would like to get away from separation and more from embracing than separated. So when art is already doing this, and it's the artists to do that. Degas was a painter, but he's inspired by dance. And we go on and on people like that. I can't read a text from a book, and that will inspire me a ballet. I will admire other colleagues, but you don't take your inspiration systematically from other dancers. You heritage from other because I didn't create dance. It's an heritage. You take from your teachers. You take from the choreographer that were your teachers, but you are inspired by your contemporary people, and they can be a teacher. They can be someone passing in the street. It can be a marketplace. It can be, a scene on a mother and a child, or a father and a child. There's so many ways to be inspired. But definitely with among artists, I found out that if I go sometime and discover, one time right there in Portchester, there's a painter called Patricia Miranda, and we were lucky to go into a workshop, and I saw a painting of her in gold and black, and that inspired me, the color of Peter and the Wolf, her painting. It was like, I don't want costume that look like, the traditional costume I want, and we're not even done with that because, it's always budget related, but the color of her work on this beautiful gold tree that she made, it's like all the costume became clear to me. They have to be in those colors. And because of the color, then the movement of the dance takes a direction. So you are inspired by other form of arts when you.
I am fascinated with the process of putting together a show like this. I was at the performance a few weeks ago, and I was totally transfixed by these performances. I would imagine the rehearsal process for a program like this has got to be hours and hours and hours.
It is. It's intense. Of course, Ballet des Amériques, it's a company that it has grown from one step to the other, and my ultimate goal with our team of people, because the company members are your team people, is that we will go full-time at one point and rehearse every day, all day. Have them. So right now it's 3-4 times a week, some evenings, but which is still intense. And when we enter the studio, you start at 9-10, and then you finish at 2, and then you start again. So yes, it's a lot of work.
And great orchestras of the world, acting companies, theater companies. It is all about that process, that rehearsal process, that taking the vision of the director and putting it out on stage, and the physicality of dancing. And your dancers, my goodness, it's really it's incredible. It's an athletic, performance. It's a dance performance. It's artistic. everything really comes together.
It's exactly. It's again another part that's probably maybe again connected to background, like dance. It has this, so it's intellectual, it's mental, but it's very physical, and both have to always be in a complete synchronization. Yesterday, I catch myself at the conservatory telling students because they were like asking a lot of questions, which in dance is more. Question has to come, but it cannot be constantly, because that means you're not observing. And if you're not observing, you're not absorbing. And if you're not absorbing, you cannot deliver. So you have to develop this great deal of talent for observation, rather than separate the process and think it's in the mind, and then you will deliver. It's both. So I explain to students, it is physical and mental, and you have to constantly remember that if you want to make progress. Because if you separate again, the progress becomes very slow. So it is an athletic, and sometimes painful, I will say. So you develop, and I see that in my students, transcending what's the challenge. A dancer is constantly transcending the pain and transcending the difficulty. So it creates people with strong character. And so as a school, I see that, and that's what I, at the least, if you have a training in professional, because we only train professionally, it's not a recreational school, you also train people to become strong, very strong individual that looks for the detail, that do not give up, that always look for what's best, what's next, what can I do better.
As a person of theater, I always think about communication and how key it is for director and actor and a director and performer. Do you have a language that you use that helps dancers with your vision of the choreography?
I do. I'm a person that likes to talk. So I do. I use image a lot, imagery, and I like to guide from the emotion to the story of the project. So for a ballet, I will explain where it comes from. I might start with, like for the Boléro, I had a clear idea, which I have not completely revealed even to the dancer, because I need them at this point to dance with what I reveal to them. And then when I put the ballet to the next level, I reveal more, because they need to first embrace that information and incarnate, let it come inside them and deliver it as much as possible. Then I can bring them more information. So it's always constant communication. And for example, for the Boléro, I started with the music itself, the story of the music, of how Ravel came to compose that piece. Even though it was something else that inspired me to choose but many things inspired me to choose the Boléro. But it's for my dancer, as an example, that one piece, it was through the music. Yeah. L'Anti-Soup is through the animals. Connecting all movement. This is the lion. This is this part of the forest. Imagine you into a land of sand like the Sahel, or imagine you into the forest. So the way you will have to walk in the forest, or in this part of the world, and this animal and that animal and the energy of this animal. So the birds, and so for that piece, it was more nature and animal world. So yes, you do have to communicate to your dancers.
And those were two striking performances. The Boléro was unlike anything I'd ever witnessed. I mean, it was moving, it was athletic, there was a lot of powerful moments that you got out of your dancers. I imagine that having an audience for that performance especially was particularly fun for the dancers. I could see them light up knowing that there was a small crowd at this performance, was what, 50 or 60 people there.
Yes, about 60.
It was amazing.
That's a discussion I have with dancer. When you can, there's different belief in directors of theater of what you want to bring to your audience, but I am really a strong believer that there's a moment where there should be no more separation. Again, I don't like separation.
Right. Yeah, we're talking shop here.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally
there's
agree.
a moment where it cannot be the stage and the audience anymore, and it doesn't mean that your audience is going to participate. All those new things to do. Let's make the audience participate. No, an audience participate from the moment they're in total communication, and you feel it. We don't have. It has no color, it has no smell, but we all know as human beings, suddenly there is a connection with the audience. Suddenly we are one in a room, everybody in the same state of emotion. And I always, as I performed a lot, so I was also a strong performer for many years. So I always believed that you have to, I tell the dancer, I tell my student, make the art, performing art, an ultimate act of generosity. If it's an ultimate act of generosity, you are going to touch someone, and therefore probably many people. And once you have touched people emotionally, intellectually, even into a place where we won't have word to say what it is, then suddenly there's no more separation. The performers and the audience become one. It's like they're into the same space and not into proscenium or stage and audience. It becomes one space, and that's the ultimate.
Right, and it connects. There's a tissue connecting moment to moment that pulls us in. Young, older, doesn't matter what our background is. Doesn't matter the color of our skin or our religion. We're human beings, and we feel more human in that experience.
Absolutely. And the conversation can start, therefore.
That's right.
You can start the conversation,
right.
And I think artists should do that more than less, starting the conversation, because differences have to be discussed.
Yeah, yeah.
Only the dialogue with the most opposite belief, we have to start, it's only interesting and possible as human beings if we can have a dialogue and disagree and agree, but continuously have this dialogue. And when the artist can bring this to remember of that, to go to performance, to performing art, to go to connect with the art is to remember how connected we are more than disconnected.
Right. It's all the things we share in common.
In common.
The emotions.
It's stronger than our differences.
That is correct. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the history of ballet and its and dance and how it's evolved and how it's changed over the couple of hundred years that it's been around. We were talking about that the other night, that it's a pastime for. Yeah,
so it starts. I mean, the classical story, to go short because we'll.
Yeah, sure.
Court of Italia, and it comes 18th century to court of France, and really develop as what it is today with Louis XIV, because he was himself the king's son, principal dancer, with the first ballet, le Ballet de la Reine, all those. So, and then from there, I think 1666, 61. The first academy of ballet, Opéra de Paris today. And then from there, there's so many masters that went to Dutch, to Russia, Marius Petipa, all those French people, and developed ballet into different countries in the world. Here we had Balanchine in America that developed an expression of a style, an operation. But again, we are not separated. So why Balanchine? Because there was also Ballet d'Agliev, and d'Agliev is what is, again, an union between the Franco-Russe, the French and the Russian, this era around 1910 and to 1932 with Sergi Farr, Balanchine, Michael Fokine, which are already, and especially with Fokine and Nijinsky, people that already have created modern dance. We often like to say that we're the pioneer. No, we continue. We
stand on the shoulders of those of
others.
You.
It's not very right to say that we created, no, because you look, a choreographer might bring another way of the proposition, but there's someone behind that has already opened that door for that new way of expressing something. And I think that era was a fantastic time. Was how they work again. Why? And I believe that because they work all together. Coco Chanel, Picasso, always those association of artists. When you see in history the different artists of different form of expression of art coming together, it's always a very creative moment in history. And around that time in Paris, with people of different country, it was a different era, different background, putting again this proposition together. We're still feeding out of this expression today. So dancers have become maybe more technique, legs are higher, much more athletic because it's a constant evolution of classical dance, but it's nothing completely created from as new. It's really a continuation of our elder passed on to us.
And I think a good question too is, how can we develop young people into appreciating the form of dance? I know that the difficulty of getting young men has been, it's difficult to get young men to go into ballet, but it's not just the classical ballet that your conservatory offers. It's also modern.
Absolutely.
And it's all kinds of
and
different
music. We
expressions.
offer music classes because you have to be a musician of the body. We have flamenco. We do workshop of other forms of art. This summer we have a summer intensive. I would love to have an acting class because you're not a dancer if you're not a great actor.
Right.
Without the verb, but you have to be a great actor.
That's right.
So it's important to have well-rounded artists. Whatever, like dance. Sometimes actors take dance class because they become better actors if they can move. So yes, we offer that. And to go back to what you say, to how do you? So I believe that myself. I mean, since young, I'm a teacher. I had great teacher that So when I was young, they were like, you're a dancer, you're a performing artist, but you should consider choreography and you should consider teaching because dance is, some people like pedagogy, and since young it was clear that I like dance. I like, all that has to offer, and I cannot, again, separate it. I think I love to choreograph and I adore teaching, and all those things are, to me, connected. They're not disconnected. But when it comes to how do you pass on to the next generation, I believe that we have a company, the dancer, the performer. So the company, it's always the finish point and the beginning point of another era of dance. So you train for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, a dancer. Then they enter a company, and the company now is the artist presenting the work of another artist, which is the choreographer. Right. But to bring new generation to dance or to music is to go to school. I really believe in that kind of work, where you go and yes, it's great, we do beautiful theater, we can go all over the world, but there's a moment it's great to go to all the schools, to make children fall in love with art as young as possible. For boys, it has to do with a lot of prejudice, a lot of misunderstanding of what dance is. The idea for women too, ballet is not pink tutu. It's not that. It's not. Pink tutu is one of few ballet that wear it, maybe Sleeping Beauty, and we have a list. But there are so many other form and the repertoire of ballet. It's huge, and it's certainly not just using pink and the tutu. It can be, from so many. Again, we go back to the ballet russe. You're talking about Picasso and Coco Chanel making costume. They were not tutus. They were already extra contemporary, very modern, and Cubism was already into the costume in 1910, in 1920s. So it's again the reduction of the idea of what ballet is, and we need for that. You have to go back to the people. Complain about it is not going to change it. We have to return to the people and say, let me show you. Come see what really it is, and there's nothing more athletic and more masculine for men, for boys to do ballet. So it's if you want a son to be very physical and mental, you should run to a ballet class. This is where you should bring your son. And I have to say, especially when I'm coming from another country, I have seen this idea that girls do ballet, boys do sport, and again, that's separation. And I don't think it's a good, it's a false idea. It's a completely false idea.
Well, I took my son to see the show, as you know, and he's a teenager, and he doesn't like to go to theater or to performance that much. He always says, why are you taking me? And so what I thought was high praise was when his mother asked him, well, what did you think of it? He said, it was all right. so I took that as a high praise from compliment. A 15-year-old.
Yeah, teenager.
I think he really enjoyed it. And as I said, I was transfixed by it. It was just a great experience. And for folks who really want to see a very unique and wonderful dance company coming up in Tarrytown at the Tarrytown Music Hall on June 11th is the show there, and the program is going to have Peter and the Wolf. We'll also see that fabulous Boléro. And the ideas for Boléro that when you were choreographing it, were some of those ideas were they spontaneous? Where they say, where you came up and said, I'm going to change this, or I have some new move, or what was your process when you were
Well, the story
choreographing
of
that?
Boléro, I mean, the way I choreograph it is, of course, came from something, and I had to make sure I make it my own, because I came from, my background is Maurice Béjart, Moudra, and Béjart, Maurice Béjart has choreographed an amazing Boléro. It has nothing to do with this one. So, of course, in my heritage, in my subconscious mind, Boléro, I think of him as a choreographer. So there's also emotionally like an homage, a secret homage.
I gotcha.
But to do an homage to your teacher, you cannot repeat what your teachers have done. You have to go away from the teacher to honor the teacher. So it was that, and it was also our politic environment. You know, the tensions, what's going on in the world, and last year Paris, and all this sadness facing the violence of the world, the tension. And so the music of Ravel, as you know, has the drum side of it,
Right.
which is very military and which creates a tension of a bit of a menace, something over our head. And then you have the phrasing, cannot sing today, which is a Sufi. It's from Sufism, and it's this melodic, hypnotizing. And Sufism has such a philosophy of love. So the music was. Listening to Boléro again, it was like, it translates so much what I feel right now. What I feel and what I desire to feel, which is facing all this tension, love and positivity and hope has to be equally there to give us proposition, to create proposition. So I started with that emotion, that duality inside me. And from there, of course, I wanted to create a movement and it was very difficult with the dancer because the movements are somehow, they're hard to do because they're simple. Sometimes simple is complicated to deliver. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot of movement fast, and that's, in a way, athletic, but it can be easier because it's a technical language. But once you create and ask your dancer to stay in balance with that tension, that was really challenging for them. So there will be time I will say, no, stop, it's boring. Because, and like you saw last time, for them it was a victory because they took the choreography and incarnated it to now deliver this tension that is in the music of Ravel. So to explain what was in my mind is
great.
That.
It's really wonderful. Thanks a lot. The time went by pretty quickly. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for watching. This is Bob Johnson for Westchester County Roundup. See you next time.